Hello, Sandra here. I am doing a video today, which is a little bit of an introduction to let you know a little bit more about me, who I am, and why it is I do what I do, which is advocating for things like natural health, freedom for natural health, being able to be in the driver's seat when it comes to our health and wellness, mind, body, and soul. I put up the sign, the Arthritis Kitchen, when I was taking down my Christmas stuff and getting ready for a project for the new year. And I was reminded that I had put that in a frame because it was the very first logo for my very first venture into creating online content. Arthritis Kitchen was a blog, and it's where I would share recipes and meal plans for those living with arthritis or anyone who wanted to reduce inflammation, and also giving tips and techniques and hacks for being able to prepare meals when you perhaps are also dealing with chronic pain or you have energy challenges and things like that. So it was a bit of a passion project. And that was, probably about 12 years ago. Not sure, didn't look that up. And I sort of put that on the wayside. A lot of the reasons because my health took a big turn for the worst, and I had several very, very challenging years. So why would I do a cooking blog called Arthritis Kitchen? Well, it is because arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis specifically, is something that I have lived with all my life. I was diagnosed at the age of 8 years old. And so that is something that I have learned to navigate along the way. It has been one of the major health issues that I've come across that has really been a gift and has taught me an awful lot. Very early on, it taught me to really pay attention to and to know what's going on in my body at any given time. It taught me a lot of really, really good skills in being able to communicate with my doctors and my medical team and with employers and with any sort of situations like that. I became an advocate for myself. And through that, I discovered the importance of patient advocacy. And I then translated that, not just doing that for myself, but also doing that for my parents and for others to help share patient advocacy on a larger platform. I feel really strongly about being what I refer to as being in the driver's seat when it comes to our health and wellness. And I talk about that all the time. And it has been a very, very strong foundation of how I approach so many decisions of when it comes to my health and well-being. So if we go back to when I started to get older, when I was sort of at the height of my career, was when my arthritis became so active that it was all consuming. And in a lot of these autoimmune conditions, when they are active and flaring, it can be a real challenge to sort of find that right balance of medication. So that would be very frequent doctor visits, lots of challenges, lots of trying to figure out, and just trying to figure out how to navigate through that really challenging time. Interestingly enough, it was my rheumatologist. And then a few years later, it was my GP who looked at me with such compassion and suggested that I might want to look at taking a medical leave. No, 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 no. At first, when that was brought up, I was oh, it got my back up. I was so very offended. That was not in at all where I was going to be going. I identified very positively and very strongly with my career and the work that I was doing, and no, absolutely not. I think it was 3 years later when my GP presented the idea that I take a look and see and recognize what was happening to my health, see and recognize the direction I was heading, and realize that the stress and the impact of trying to continue on and have a normal level of activities and responsibilities and workload while living with a chronic condition, it wasn't working. And I was showing up into the doctor's office repeatedly for one reason or another. It was sleep was the challenge, that where we ended up having this conversation, because I was needing to add another medication to the lists of, at that time, I was on several medications for rheumatoid arthritis, and now I was adding sleeping medication, and I wasn't healthy. I wasn't healthy at all. I would show up just absolutely exhausted, sometimes in tears, sometimes overwhelmed. And so at that appointment, she said, she wrote down, sort of like in a prescription pad, I'll have to look it up, I still have it, talking about, again, lovingly presenting the option and the idea that perhaps, just perhaps, that my health and well-being was important, and that I needed to pay attention to that, and I needed to get into the driver's seat. So I did. I spoke to my employer, my boss. Wasn't easy. Anyway, we proceeded with that. I took the medical leave, and when I did, I think I ended up getting like really sick right after. You know how when you kind of like push, and then your body just kind of goes like, oh my gosh, what have we just been through? Took some time, don't even really remember, but along the course of that time, recognizing how seriously deteriorated my health had become, and that I was definitely motivated to make some changes. Things turned into a direction when I made the decision to move back to Vancouver Island, where I live today. And it was going to be a way to get away from a lot of the hectic pace from the city, get out of the really highly expensive city, and also come back to the place where I had more of a support system with friends and family. So we did that. It was 2012. The actual moving day was on Halloween, October 31st, traveling on the ferry with the two cat carriers, and with them howling and me singing them the comforting "Everything's Fine" song. And it was pouring rain. I do remember it very distinctly. So we arrived on Halloween at the end of October, and November, December, start getting ready for the holidays. And this is, as I look back, especially now with the more heightened awareness that I have, the more sort of observer view that I can take of my life, everything that was leading up to Christmas, New Year's, and what happened immediately after that was such a blessing, and ended up being the way that I discovered that I had breast cancer. So we were settling in after the move. It was a lovely, lovely place with a lovely view. And I wanted to do something really simple for Christmas. I was still recovering from all the physical physical challenges from just having to do that move. I was really tired, and so I didn't want to go really fancy with decorations, but we were having people over. We had this new home, and I wanted to do something simple, so I decided I would do a theme of everything was going to be ball shaped. So I have this lovely, huge brandy snifters. I would fill them with Christmas balls. Same with baskets over here. We would do, I don't think we had a tree that year, but I would string beautiful colored balls over the mantle and everything. It was really festive and really pretty. We were also having friends over for a little get together after New Year's. And I said, let's stick with the theme. Let's do a ball party. So let's have a ball, like celebrate the New Year ball for 2013. So I did arancini balls, which is risotto balls stuffed with cheese. Really, really delicious. I think we also did some cheese balls. We had something like that going. I do remember we had some bocconcini balls. Maybe there were some meatballs. And I do know for sure, because we've got a beautiful picture, we had a wonderful tray of beautiful handmade round ball truffles that my friends' daughters had made and brought over for the occasion. So we were having a ball. It was a ball party everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. It wasn't long after that. It was probably around the middle of January, when, again, all this awareness, something stood out, and I noticed in my left breast something that was distinctly ball-shaped. And it was such an instantaneous connect the dots, instant message received. Everything, I believe everything I was focused and had it in my vision everywhere, all around, these round orbs, these balls, these cylinder type things. I mean, everywhere. So that when I did notice that, it wasn't subtle, it was screaming loud, and I noticed right away. And so then began the process, which initially was a 3-year active process. And then another 3 years after that to sort of catch your breath. The first year was all diagnostics and an initial surgery. Then it was what seemed like an amazingly long time to wait to start chemotherapy, which I did in the summer of 2013. So that, I believe, was three or 4 months of intense chemotherapy, and maybe another time share a little bit of the learnings and things during that journey. It was, as you know, everyone can have different experiences and side effects with invasive treatments such as that, and I got just about every one of them. It was a challenging time for sure, but going through that was after that there was so to backtrack a little bit, my cancer diagnosis, after there was the leading up to all the reassurances from everyone, from the technicians to my GP, that, oh, this is nothing, it's just going to be a cyst. Did get that phone call at home. I was already living on the island. My GP was still over in North Vancouver. And so it was around 5 p.m. I picked up the phone and was told that I had cancer. After the initial surgery, so first you go and you get your needle biopsy, and then you go for a surgery to remove the lump and to get your pathology report. So that was scheduled. Can't remember the date right now, and went through and had a very good process, good procedure, and really, really good results, in that there was zero lymph node involvement, and I had what is referred to as clean margins, meaning that the cancer was completely isolated and had not spread anywhere else from isolating for where the tumor was. What we did find out also through the pathology report was that it was stage 2, grade 3. That's what it was. Stage 2, grade 3. And then with the different estrogen, this and that and the other, because, I really should get out the report and revisit that. It's been so many years, and I would like to be a little bit more familiar with that information in case that's interesting or helpful to anyone. But what was explained to me is that it was a very aggressive, fast-growing cancer. And that also fit with my experience of, noticing that right away. And all of that was also, interestingly, and this is cautionary, this is important to know, while my medical team at the time did not imply that the arthritis biological medication that I was on caused my cancer, they were very concerned and felt that it had accelerated the growth for that. So the fast growth of the tumor, and that is what happens with these sorts of biologic modifying medications. These are either injectable drugs, or you go for infusions. It can cause havoc with our body systems and lower our immune system. So with hearing that, with knowing that I had been on these medications for quite some time, even though I had no lymph node involvement and clear margins, I decided I was comfortable with going through with the chemotherapy to just make sure to eradicate that cancer on a systemic level. I followed you go to the BC Cancer Agency and you meet with the oncologists, depending on the team of the type of cancer you have and the type of treatment that is recommended, the different protocols for breast cancer here in Canada, in British Columbia. The standard protocols that everyone is usually going through is surgery to remove the cancer, chemotherapy to, again, eradicate it systemically, followed by radiation to then also eradicate it at site. So when you go through and you hear all these different things presented to you, and you take along a friend or partner. I brought my spouse along with me. Lots of information, and of course, you just received a cancer diagnosis. It's extremely overwhelming. But this is where, having lived with a chronic condition and already considering myself a patient advocate, that really served me well. It served me well to have the presence of mind. First of all, each and every medical appointment that I go to, I'm the customer. And I go in with an expectation that I will be having a two-way conversation, not going for just a one-sided information. I know I prepare for these appointments. I do make sure that I am as well informed and educated as I can be. And then again, it also is my body. I'm the one that's living this life. So of course I should be able to have the really best knowledge for that. And that's where you look to your medical professionals to help guide you to make these decisions. And I made a really important decision, and it's one that it has become one of the most pivotal decisions that I made for my personal health and wellness, that I continue to draw on, and I continue to respect, value, and stand up for. And that is the fact that when going through and hearing all of the different risk versus benefits, and that's really important to understand when undergoing any sort of surgical procedure, undergoing any sort of medication treatment, or any sort of protocols like that, you are wanting to have a discussion of risk versus benefits. Because as with these things, there are always, when you are talking about things that are not in the natural health and wellness field that come from the pharmaceutical side of things, there are always risks and side effects to be aware of. Now, you weighing the benefits, and that's how I described how with the chemotherapy, I absolutely risk benefit. I chose to go down that route. But when I was listening to and learning more about radiation, first of all, looking at the situation that I specifically was in with the pathology that had come back from my cancer specifically, I really felt that also eradicating the skin and burning the tissues through radiation, I thought that was, it didn't seem logical. It didn't seem necessary. Then when hearing about the chance, the percentage of more protection of having it versus not, those numbers again, those just didn't make sense for me logically based on my particular situation. And then here was the absolute ultimate tipping point and decision-making process for me. In learning about it, in listening and asking questions, I started to hear them talk about the strain on our heart and our cardio function by having radiation that close to the chest. I then started to listen to that voice in my head that reminded me of what I had learned through arthritis research, that simply by having rheumatoid arthritis since the age of 8 years old, and along with a lot of the medications that are sometimes used, I am more at risk for cardiac concerns than the average person. I was also more overweight at the time. All of these things, the flags started going, the alarm bells, the listening, and also listening to my intuition, listening to what I knew was right for me. I declined the radiation procedure. Now, believe it or not, some people were really surprised that I even, were you allowed to do that? Yeah, of course I was. I'm in the driver's seat. This is, I make the choices when it comes to what I choose or not to do, when it comes to medical treatment, medications, all of that. I have always I've recognized and understood the importance of having this personal advocacy and being able to do that. And so I did that for not going with a radiation process. And this year it will be 9 years cancer free. And I'm so eternally grateful for that. But it is something that, again, it is taking that understanding, taking that ownership and knowing what is right. So nowadays, fast forward to the times that we are living in, again, things that are choices on how someone chooses to look after their health and wellness, whether that be was talking about sleeping earlier. I had a dependency on prescription sleeping medications for many, many years after that doctor visit in North Vancouver. That carried on with me well through and after post-cancer and treatment. And after a certain point, there was a decision to be made. I decided to switch things up, and I decided to go more of a natural health and wellness route for that. That's been a huge win. I don't choose to solve my sleeping problems by taking medication. When it comes to having a compromised immune system and wanting to remain strong and healthy for years and years. If you've known me, I've been a bit of a germaphobe. Wash your hands. Even before it was fashionable, my goodness, people, I was scoping you all out in the lines at the grocery store. And if you were the cashier or the customer that had the sniffles and the sneezes, I didn't want to be around you. I was protecting myself as I always have and as I always will. And on top of that, when it comes to how to protect myself through seasonal threats or through this year, that year, or the next, I'm going to be really paying attention to any sort of protocols that may have cardiac issues associated with them. So, whether or not we're going to be talking about the latest and greatest arthritis medication, or it is anything else, these types of things are really, really important to me personally. And I think that they should I know they're important to a lot of people as well, but part of this is just to highlight the idea of being a patient advocate, the idea for recognizing that always, no matter what you're being told, always the person that has the ability and the right to make the decisions when it comes to your personal health is you. And we always need to make sure that we continue to have that freedom to be able to choose what we choose to do with our bodies. If I had not spoken up and you just go along to get along, I would have had radiation. I would have had, I don't know how many rounds or whatever it is that they call it. There was at least 10, if not 24. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount. That's what's expected. That's what's expected from you when you get a diagnosis. And I would like to put that out for anyone whenever you receive or you are experiencing any sort of a health issue. Get into that driver's seat. Take a look at the root cause. Take a look at, is there something in your lifestyle that you can change? Is there something of the natural or holistic side of things that you might want to try first? Become educated, become informed, become empowered, and understand that this body, this life that we have been given, it's pretty precious. Know what is right for you. Always make the decisions that are right for you. And if you are someone that is perhaps living with arthritis or some other inflammation related condition and also taking some medications, I want you to be aware of your heart health. I want you to be aware, look into your life expectancy as a result of having these conditions and understand the impact of anything extra straining on your cardiac health is something that you might want to pay attention. Okay, that is the video today, just a little bit about my health journey. There is so much more, trust me. And I hope you have enjoyed hearing this. If you have any questions at all about anything I've shared or about my journey along the way, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And until next time, I am wishing you wellness.